What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today, we are continuing with our series. The series that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks is the 5 stages of starting over. And this week, we are talking about stage 3. Stage 3 is the nuts and bolts. So I call it taking care of business. So we're going to be going through the nuts and bolts of some of the things that we need to be prepared for when we find ourselves in this position where we need to start over. So this is what has been going on for the last couple of weeks. If you have missed any of the prior shows, please go and find my podcast on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. And if you go on the top row, there's one that says podcasts, Find Time to Rise and Thrive. And you will see all of the shows that came before today. So when you find those shows, you're looking for stage 1 and stage 2. And any other ones that you might like to listen to. I just love doing this every week. Thank you so much for being with me. I'm just going to share with you, I had one of the nicest things happen this morning. I've been away for a few days. And this morning, of course, I'm back at my desk and I'm catching up on emails and all of that kind of stuff. And our fearless leader here on Inspired Choices Network, her name is Christine. Christine had sent me an email a few days ago with a comment from a lady named Monica. Monica, I haven't figured out how to respond to you, but thank you so much. I will figure that out and I will reply to your comment on last week's show. Thank you so much for your kind words. It really meant the world to me. It actually started my day on a really great note. So thanks so much for that. If you ever would like to join me on the show, you do have the option of logging into the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com when we're live. And you can go in there and join in the conversation. So if anybody's got any questions or anything you'd like to say, I would really love for you to join me live. We are here every Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern. So what do we do on Time to Rise and Thrive? We talk about your subliminal soundtrack. We talk about recognizing your unique beauty, your value, and the contribution that you are to your world and to the people that are around you. It is so important for us to understand that, because when we do, we sort of embrace things in a different way. Our energy shifts. We can, I'm trying to think of what the word is that I want to say, but that embrace, right? We can interact in a different way because we understand who we are and what we bring to the world. It's so important for us to get clear on this. So getting back to today's show, we are talking today about taking care of business. So I want to just let you know ahead of time the circumstances and the information that I provide as we go through this 5-week series. It is possible to use these tips and these strategies in any kind of situation. So it could be a job loss, it could be a business loss, it could be the loss of a friendship, it could be a loss of a spouse due to death or to separation and divorce. Anytime you find your world is sort of collapsed on you and you need to start over, you need to begin again, I want you to know that you have inside you whatever you need. You already know what you need to do. There are people around you who will help you. And I am someone that you are absolutely welcome to contact if you are going through something like this. I would love to support you as you walk through these stages, because what is hard to see when we find ourselves in that position, stage 1 is what I call ground zero. And I'm very purposeful in that language, because it is as though your life has just blown up. So I'd love to support you through that. You can find me on jackiemott.com. You can find me on Facebook at Jackie Mott Mindset and Empowerment Expert. And of course, you're welcome to join us here every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So how does this subliminal soundtrack relate to this? This is always how we start the show, because it's very important for us to understand what's going on in the back of our mind. So your subliminal soundtrack, really quickly, is this loop of messages that plays in the back of your mind all day, every day. It's made up of little bits of information that you've gathered throughout your life. So every relationship you've ever been part of, every circumstance you've ever faced, every conversation, every single experience you have ever had has given you little bits of information that you've gathered together and stored back here on that subliminal soundtrack. Now, we use that subliminal soundtrack and that information to create our belief systems, to create the things in our lives that we believe that we are capable of, we believe are possible for us, that they're possible in this world. So the subliminal soundtrack is very important. So one of the things that I like to share, just to make it crystal clear, is if I have grown up with a parent who has told me throughout my entire childhood that February is such a hard month, it's so terrible, so hard to get through February, then you can bet that about halfway through January, I am starting to brace myself against this month that is coming, that I know there's no way to avoid it. It's coming. And it's really, really interesting because what we believe to be true back here on that subliminal soundtrack will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. All right. So if that parent has told you February is the worst month of the year, what if you like snowmobiling or skating outside or tobogganing or any other number of things? That's part of February too. So maybe in your circumstance, February is actually one of the best months because it's one of the coldest months, which means you get the best weather for doing those activities that you really enjoy doing it. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's very important for us to get clear on this stuff, challenge the things that don't work for us, and create new messages that then support us in doing the things and creating the life that we actually would choose for ourselves. So in today's segment, today's topic, how does a subliminal soundtrack affect how you might be under these circumstances? So if you are somebody who believes that your life is set, that you don't have to worry, everything is going smoothly, and then all of a sudden somebody or something happens that rocks that foundation. If you have not done your work, if you have not gotten clear on your subliminal soundtrack and everything else that affects you, that is going to rock you to your core. And it may well send you flying off in a direction that is very difficult to recover from. But if you believe, that you are someone who knows everything that they need to know, that you are deserving of good things happening in your world, that you are someone who has withstood every single storm that has come your way. You're resilient and you're strong and you are smart, so you will figure out what you have to figure out. If you're that person, it's not going to necessarily be easy. I'm not promising easy, but it'll be a whole lot easier to withstand those shocks and those storms. So when I was talking about ground zero, what I said is it's not just the initial bomb that drops. Like, that's devastating all by itself. But if you think about how nature works and how these things happen, you see the mushroom clouds and you see all kinds of stuff. There's shock waves. There are shock waves that happen after the bomb is dropped. And it's necessary for us to keep on going with each one of those. Sometimes you need to take some time to digest things. Sometimes you need a little bit of time to sort of rejig. What's my direction? Where am I going? What am I creating for myself? And I want you to also know that they say that the rockets are off course 95% of the time. So if a rocket heading to the moon is constantly having to course correct in order to get to where it's meant to go, try to have a little bit of kindness for yourself as you navigate these new circumstances and create a new way of being. All right. Today's show, we are going to focus specifically on separation and divorce because there are nuts and bolts that are required under those circumstances that you will not probably face if it's the loss of a job or business, or if you become a widow or widower. You will not likely have some of the same circumstances that you will need to face. So we're focusing specifically on separation and divorce in today's show. And what I decided when I was going through and getting ready and doing my outline this morning, I decided that I was going to go from both perspectives. So we're going to talk a bit about what it feels like to be the person who has made the decision to move on without the other person. And we're also going to talk about it from the perspective of the person who has been put into those circumstances by a decision made by someone else. So there's going to be a lot of really great information. I'm going to encourage you to go and grab yourself the pen and paper early in the show, because as soon as next segment, we're going to start really digging into this stuff. There are different things that you will need to focus on depending on your position. One thing that I would very much like to encourage you to consider as you are moving in, regardless of your position, as you are moving into this new way of being, this new life that you're creating for yourself, it is very important for you to remember that the other party was very important to you, at least for a period of your life. There are experiences that you had because that relationship was present, because that person was present. There are things that happened because of that relationship. It's important for us to come to a place of honor and respect for both parties. It can be difficult, especially when feelings are hurt, especially when there are things that have happened where we feel betrayed, where we feel like we have not been honored in a way that we deserved to be honored, where we feel like somebody has made a decision without including us. And that's what has to happen. The truth of the matter is that in either spot, we have to adjust to a different way of living. And very often when you're the person who is made the decision to move forward on your own, your circumstances will change more quickly and often mm, in a nicer way than they do for the person who's been left behind. So it's very important for us both sides of this, to remember that this person used to be very important. Maybe they aren't anymore. That's okay. But they used to be very important. It's important for us to honor that period of our lives and whomever was part of it. Because here's the thing. Remember, we talked about this. Every single experience has given us information that we've stored on that subliminal soundtrack, right? So if you're somebody who has been with someone for a very long time and they have passed away or they've moved on to create a different life, a lot of that information that's stored there may need to shift, and it may need to shift really quickly. If you're somebody who made the decision, then that might already have happened before you announced what your decision was. You may be already moving on more quickly because you've already done your processing. You've already done your grieving. You've already done whatever it was that you needed to do to come to this place of making that decision. It's okay. All of that's okay. But please try to remember that the other party is new in that whole thing. They have not had the time that you have had to create that new mindset, to um, deal with the circumstances that are changing in their life. They may well be in a position of like shell shock or even just basic shock. And we know that that takes some time for people to recover from. So please be as kind as you possibly can, regardless of which side of this conversation you're on. Please be as kind as you can. Remember, this person mattered to you very deeply, at least for a time, and they were probably very influential in helping you create your life and your belief systems. So please try to honor both sides of this conversation as much as possible. One last thing that I just want to touch on really briefly is in cases of abuse, what I'm talking about here, there will be some things that will apply, but a lot of the things that we are talking about today will not fit in cases of abuse. So if you are somebody who is leaving an abusive relationship, I'm going to highly encourage you to go and find support. There are all kinds of groups. I'm sure no matter where you are, there are groups that can help women and men, that can help people that have been through abusive relationships. Go find them. You can also go and find a counselor, a social worker, a coach, somebody. If you are going through detaching yourself from an abusive relationship, there is depth to that we are not going to be talking about on today's show. So please take care of you. Please take care of your needs and find the support that you need to be able to move into a healthier life, a healthier way of being. Also, because we don't want to drag those belief systems with us into our new lives, or we are going to attract the same circumstances. And that is not something that I'm sure you want to do. So please take care of you, find the support that you need, and whatever you need to do to break those patterns and those belief systems and mindsets that allowed it to be okay, find the support you need to break those, okay? That's what I'm going to ask you to do. And that comes from my love, that comes from my heart. Take care of you. All right, so that is how we are going to head off to our break now. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. Today, we are talking about stage three of the 5 stages of starting over. This stage I call taking care of business, and we're going to be discussing the nuts and bolts of the things that we need to be ready for. All right, so we will be back with you in just a moment. Stick with us.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about stage 3 of the 5 stages of starting over, taking care of business. We're going to be talking about some of the nuts and bolts of the things that you need to expect. And today's focus is on separation and divorce because there are very specific things that we need to be prepared for under those circumstances. It will apply under other circumstances as well. So take what will work for you. Leave the rest behind, grab that pen and paper. We're about to dig in here. So also, again, if you missed the first segment of the show, we are talking about from both sides of the conversation. That's an unusual thing for me, but that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you are the person who has found themselves in the position where somebody else made a decision and you are now needing to start over from scratch, there are a number of things in stages 1 and 2. If you haven't seen those, please go find those shows. There's a lot of information there that will help you, particularly dealing with the emotional side of this, because it really doesn't feel good. It really does not feel good. And it's essential. It's essential for you to be looking after yourself and your emotional well-being. So some of the things that came up for me when I was talking about this morning, very briefly, I'm just going to tell you, this is my story from about 3.5 years ago. So I had been in a long-term relationship, 27 years together, 18 legally married. And I think we lived together for something like 22 or something. I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter, but long-term, long-term. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm going to share with you is because of the road that I've walked and what I have learned as I've gone through this process. I'm very grateful. The papers were just finally signed a couple of weeks ago, just waiting for the stamp from the judge, and then we're done. So that's exciting. Being the person who did not make the decision, there was a period of shock. There was a period of like, this can't even be true. I don't understand what's happening. This person had been part of my life for more than half of my life. Okay. So we had this relationship. He was my person. He was the person that I would go to if something went right, if something went wrong. He was the person that I would ask, what are your thoughts about whatever? The person that I ate my meals with, the person that I slept beside, the person that I went on trips with. He had been a very important part of my life. So learning how to function on my own took a little bit of time. I'm strong, I'm resilient, I could figure it out, and I did. But it took a bit of time. So one of the biggest things that I think I really needed to get clarity on, especially early on, was that was no longer my person. That was a big thing. That was no longer my person. So I needed to find those people to fill those places in my world. I needed to find somebody that would be the person who would hug me when something went wrong. I needed to find somebody that would be the person that I talked things over with when there was something coming up or going on in my life that I needed to process and maybe make decisions or whatever the case may be. I needed to find somebody who be the person who did this, fixed stuff around the house. There were all kinds of places in my world that had been occupied by that person for a long time. And learning that this is no longer the person to go to. It took me a few months. It took me a few months to really get clear on that and step back and let him step away. There are things that from both sides, there are things that need to happen. And so again, we're going to slide over to the other side of this conversation for just a moment. There are things that need to happen. If you are that person who has been involved with somebody for that length of time and the decision is sudden and quick and you're gone, in kindness, it is very important for you to remember that you have just really left that person in a position where they are trying to figure out an awful lot of stuff. There were things I had no idea where to find certain things. There were things that I knew that we had, but that was his thing. And I had no idea. I know we got it. I just have no idea where to look. One of the things that happened was there was a truck topper. He had a pickup truck and there was a truck topper that he had left on the property. So I was able to get rid of it. But the person that contacted me about that, he wanted to know there was like clamps or something, these things that attach the truck topper to the truck body. And I know we had them at one point. I have no idea where they are. I don't know. I don't even know what they look like. So these are the kinds of things that you must have a little bit of kindness and be prepared that there are things that that person will need some support with as they try to navigate and figure out how to do life without you. And that is a fact. If that person has mattered to you at all, please do your very best to show kindness and support to them as they figure that out, as they navigate those waters. Because particularly if this is unexpected, that person is probably damn near drowning right now. They mattered to you. Remember that, please. They mattered to you. They were an important piece of your life. Please support them as much as you possibly can. Be as kind as you possibly can as they adjust to life without you. Okay. So, yeah, there are very likely some strong emotions on the person's part who is moving on after the shock, who's trying to rebuild after the shock of the situation. Strong emotions, you're allowed to feel them. You're allowed to feel them. Don't let anybody else dictate. Don't let anyone else dictate how you're supposed to feel, when you're supposed to feel it, or for how long. That's yours. That has nothing to do with that person. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It is on you. You are allowed to feel how you feel for as long as you need to feel it. Do your work to move forward as best you can, to figure out this new life and how you're going to do it as best you can. There are a lot of nuts and bolts here, a lot of nuts and bolts. In the third segment, as we always do, we're going to go through some steps. And in all honesty, I'm not even sure I can get through it all in the 15 minutes that I have allotted to go through that segment of the show. So there is a lot of information and a lot of stuff that we need to think about. So it's important to deal with those emotions, and also very important to remember that that person is no longer the one that it's safe to go to. Because here's the reality. It's an ugly reality, but it's a truth. Each person now needs to be making decisions based on what is best for them. So if you find yourself in the position of not making that decision, there are circumstances where the other party will take the information that you are sharing with them, even though you may not understand. There are people out there who will take that information and use it against you. That's why it's so important to find the other people who are safe to share those things with. Maybe they don't even realize they're doing it. Like, let's have some kindness for them. Maybe they don't even realize that they're doing it, or they're talking to somebody and that person then uses it against you. It's not pleasant when that happens. Trust me, it's not pleasant when that happens. So very important right from the beginning. Find your new people, or the people in your life that you are now going to put into those places and your roles in your relationship, and make sure that you are not communicating anything that could be used against you later to the other party. Very important. Very, very important. So they don't have your back anymore. They don't have your back anymore. They are looking at what will benefit them and whomever and whatever is now in their life. They are not looking at your best interests anymore. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. That's the truth. And you need to know the truth so that you can navigate this as best you can. So whatever support the one who has made the decision can provide, whether it's a little bit of financial support, there are decisions, there are obligations that are made inside a marriage. And just because you no longer want the marriage or those circumstances doesn't mean they just disappear. So if you are the person who has moved on, remember that you have responsibilities that were made inside that marriage, and it is really not kind for you to expect that person who's already floundering and drowning with their emotional and trying to figure out so many things. It is completely unkind of you to expect them to also carry what is your responsibility. It's not okay. So I know I'm being pretty serious and pretty clear on this point. It is not okay. Provide whatever support you can, whether it's, you provide some financial support for a couple of months so they can figure out how they're going to take care of all of the obligations, whether it's, if there are kids involved, maybe you take the kids a little bit more, and careful if there are kids involved to please not ever, ever say anything unkind about the other parent, because trust me, that's not good news. That never ends well for anybody, and it causes more pain for the children who are already struggling and already trying to understand what just happened to their world. Okay? Kindness as much as possible. And I'm going to keep on saying that, people. I'm going to keep on saying that because it is so very, very important to do your best not to destroy another human being, especially one who used to occupy a really important role in your life. Okay. All right. So with that being said, we are going to head to our second break. When we come back, we are going to dig right in. And again, I don't even know if I have time to get through all of this information. So I'll be moving quickly. And yeah, so go grab your pen and paper, get ready. We are going to be back in just a moment. I'm Jackie Mott, your host. Time to rise and thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Today, we are talking about stage 3 of the 5 stages of starting over, taking care of business. So stick with us for just a moment. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about the third stage in the 5 stages of starting over, taking care of business. So we're talking about the nuts and bolts of what needs to happen as you walk the path that you are currently walking. I'm going to share with you just briefly before we get into the nuts and bolts. I'll also give you time to grab that pen and paper if you have not already. We are doing on October 7th, I am hosting a summit. Yay. It is called Starting Over Summit. It will be free of charge. And the people that we are hoping to get on the call is people, could be male, could be female, could be going through a divorce, could be widowhood, could be any number of different circumstances. But we want people on that call that we are able to help. I have 5 amazing live speakers that are going to be with me that day. It is in the afternoon. I believe we're going 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. And it is going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing. It is free. So if you or someone you know is going through the loss of that major relationship in their life, I'm going to strongly encourage you to either be on the call or to get this information in front of them. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff about what is required in starting over in a new life. There's one lady that's going to be talking about boundary. There's somebody that's going to be talking about building this life that allows you to be anywhere. She's got an amazing story. She took off to Bali when her marriage ended, and she was still able to make a living because her business was portable. So it was brilliant and beautiful. We've got an image consultant who's going to be talking about, how we can start to see ourselves in a beautiful way, how we can start to see ourselves as a single woman at midlife. What do you want for yourself? It's going to be an absolutely brilliant group of speakers who will be on the call with me. We will be on October 2nd. I will be having several of them on our last show before the summit, and we'll be interviewing them and talking about why do they want to be part of this? What was it that lit them up and brought them to the table to be a contribution to this particular summit? It is, I'm blown away at the quality, the caliber, and the number of people who have stepped up and wanted to support this particular thing. There will also be a VIP option. So if you are not able to be on the call live on October 7th, there will be a VIP option where you will get the recording of the live call, and you will also get access to some of the speakers, brilliant people that we weren't able to actually fit into the live portion of the program. So there will be several recordings, several sessions recorded. You'll get those, and you'll get the recording of the show, or of the summit, I'm sorry, and it's only $27. So this is a heart thing. I want us to help as many people as we can. You'll find information on the Facebook page as soon as I've got it. We're working on the website for registrations right now. And you can also go to jackiemott.com and download the free article, 5 Steps to Create a Mindset Wired for Success. That will ensure that you get on the mailing list so that you will get the information as it comes out. You can forward it to your friends, loved ones that might be facing these kinds of things right now. So I'm sorry, that was a little bit longer than I wanted it to. And we've got a tight segment, so I need to get back on track here. But find us and get on that call if you are somebody who is in this phase of life. Okay. So what do we do? What do we need to be aware of when we come to this place where, like, okay, I know that there are legal things. I know that there are other things that I probably need to be aware of as I start to move forward. So here's what I've got. I've got step 1 in taking care of business. Step 1, what is required and who do I need to help me? It's very important for us to get clear on this. So inside that, we want to identify what you need to do. So what are the circumstances? Is it a divorce? Is it the death of someone who is significant in your life? Is it a life-altering illness? Because that can have the same impact and the same effect. Is it the loss of a job or a career? Who needs to come in? So make a list of your resources. Make a list of, do I need a lawyer? Do I need a mediator? Do I need someone to help me with the kids? Do I need a counselor for the kids? Do I need a counselor for myself? What do you need right now? What do you need? Are you stable in your position? Are you able to hold on to your home, or do you need to look at selling, in which case you're going to need a realtor? And I will tell you that one of the things that I did very, very right was that within a week of him moving out, I had a realtor in, and she looked at the property. She came up with a value for the property based on the current market, based on, features of the home, so on and so forth. So she was able to provide me with a value for the property, which is often one of the biggest assets, especially in a marriage. So get your realtor through the house as soon as you possibly can so that they can assess. And I mean, it could be a friend, but if it is a friend, I'm going to caution you, please make sure that they give you an accurate value, because sometimes people can question that. So you want to be able to show that they have used the resources to provide an accurate value as of the date of separation. Okay. Make sure that you get that. Realtors will know. And I'm sure that you will have somebody that you either is in your circle or reach out to somebody else. A divorce lawyer would be able to help you with that. Mediators should be able to. This is the thing, is that those people actually have resources that they can help you tap into and plug into as you walk through the process. So make a list of whose help you need. Who do you need to bring in professionally? Who are your crew? Who are your tribe? Who are your support network that's going to help you to navigate the emotions, to navigate the like the legal stuff, the stuff that requires you to think it through, the stuff that requires you to step up. You also need to make a list of all of the assets. You need to make a list of all of the obligations or liabilities, financial especially, because in a divorce, please hear me, in a divorce, the judges don't care. They don't care how hurt your feelings are. They don't care about what the other party did or who left whom, or they don't care about any of that stuff. They care about the nuts and bolts, the numbers, unless you are dealing with a situation where there was abuse, in which case then there could be a whole different ballpark. But in a case where it's simply a marital breakdown, it is going to really boil down to numbers. So do your best to stay in that when you are dealing with the legal situation. It is your responsibility. It is your responsibility to put the people in place who can support you. It is no one else's responsibility, and they're not going to come looking for you. So you need to be clear on this and go find them and get them in place. Because if it gets hard and if things start to go rocky or start to go off the tracks, it's important to know who you are turning to and what they can do to help you when that happens. Don't bleed on people who didn't cut you. I know you're hurting. I know you're hurting. Believe me, I know you're hurting. Try as best you can to keep some perspective on that and don't let it start flying all over your world. Okay? The kids don't need it. If there are kids, your friends don't need it. They may understand. Hopefully they do understand. Your family doesn't need it. Just because they understand doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean it's okay. So please try to keep this from harming anyone that it doesn't absolutely have to. Okay. I'm getting the 3-minute break. I'm telling you, we have way too much. So step number 2 under the taking care of business is managing your stress and emotions. This is vital, absolutely vital. You must maintain your health, mental and physical, as much as possible, as best you can. So, what do you need to do? What is your self-care routine? Absolutely essential for you to figure out what your self-care routine is going to be. Is it going to be that you're going to take it easy for a little while and let yourself absorb things? Is it going to be that you're going to go to the gym? Is it going to be that you're going to eat in a different way? Is it going to be that you have a regular time to sit with your friends? One of the things that I did was I have a lovely tribe of people, and I promise you, every time somebody said to me, "Hey, do you want to go do this?" Yes. Didn't matter what was going on. Yes, I do. Do you want to come over and have dinner? Yes, I do. What time do you want me there? Do you want to go and see a show? Yes, I do. Do you want to go play mini putt? Yes, I do. Do you want to go for a walk in the park? Yes, I do. It didn't matter what it was. I went. I got out of the house. I surrounded myself with people who loved me and who supported me as best they could. Very important for you to do that. Self-care is essential. Lean on your team and ask for help. Remember, it is not their responsibility to show up for you. It is your responsibility to recruit them and bring them in so they know what their job is. They know what you're going to be talking with them about or what you're going to be needing them for. Okay. So your responsibility, get that team in place. The nuts and bolts people like the lawyers and the financial people, as well as your support system, your loved ones, get them in place, let them know where they fit, or ask them where they want to fit. That might be an interesting conversation too. Now, the last step, I'm actually making it through this even better than I thought. Isn't that awesome? The last step in our taking care of business is take action. Take action. So here's the thing. When you have somebody who has decided to move in a different direction, when you have someone who's in that position, or if you're that person who is moving in a different direction and There are people in situations that are behind you now. It's important for you to understand that this needs to be tied up. The person who is in that position where they are trying to start over, especially if they didn't have a heads up that this was coming, they need some time to adjust and they need closure. Hear that, please. They need time to adjust and they need closure. So even though you might want to do this new stuff, it's your responsibility to help tie that up. And remember, again, this person used to be very important to you. It is unkind to leave them floundering and in a position of limbo where they are unable to move forward because you don't feel like it. There are hard conversations. There are facts that need to be faced. Things need to be figured out, numbers and who's responsible for what. All of that is required before they can move on. If you leave it in a big pile in front of them and say, I'm out of here, and go off on your merry little life, you have left them in a position where they will not be able to move forward until some of those things are sorted out, and that can take years. So please be an active participant on both sides. Be an active participant in dismantling what you once created. Okay? Because also there are emotions that can start to get really heightened, really heightened when people get frustrated because they don't feel like somebody is cooperating and helping them to do what's required in order for them to move forward. So again, kindness as much as possible, honor as much as possible for the other party and for the life that you once shared with them. All right. We managed to get through it. I think we're a few minutes behind, which will mean next segment's going to be really short. All right. So you are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. And when we come back, we are going to wrap up today's conversation about step 3, stage 3 of the 5 stages of starting over, taking care of business. So stick with us for just a minute. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to the final segment of today's show. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about stage 3 of the 5 stages of starting over. This is taking care of business. We're talking about the nuts and bolts of things. So in our last segment, we quickly went through some of the things that we need to be prepared for as we are going through this process. And again, our focus today is on separation and divorce. These things will fit for other circumstances as well, but that's the focus for today. So we are going to be doing our summit on October 7th. I will be going into this information as well, and there will be a program that will be opening up around this stuff. I have a vision for retreats for women who are finding themselves in these kinds of circumstances. The fact of the matter is that this kind of life change, especially if it's not expected, can be incredibly jarring, and it can cause us to go into these dark spaces, and roll around in the sharp and jagged edges, and we'll just continue to cut ourselves. So it's very important for us to have some guidance and support going through that. It's also important for the other person to have guidance and support as well, right? But I'm talking about it from my perspective mostly. These were the things that I learned. These were the things that I needed. These were the things that were required in my circumstances. And that's what I can share with you. It's unfortunate that my circumstances didn't go smoothly and easily. They could have. And in my humble opinion, it's a shame that they didn't. And it is what it is. So there are things that are required of us under different circumstances. I have friends who separated from long-term spouses very simply. They sat down, they had a conversation over a cup of coffee. This is what I get. This is what you get. Wish you the best. Have a wonderful life. Take care. And ideally, that's what we all want, but it doesn't always go that way, which is why I am really stressing today, be kind as much as possible. And remember that that person was once very important in your life. Without that person, okay, so let's take it back to the subliminal soundtrack. Without that person, those experiences, those conversations, those belief systems, those all of it would not have been part of your experience, because maybe you would have gone in the same places, done some of the same things, but you wouldn't have done them with them. Do you see what I'm saying? They have influenced your life. They have influenced your life, hopefully in a very good way. Do your best to honor that. And again, in cases where you're detaching from an abusive situation, go find the help that you need. This is not meant for those kinds of circumstances. So that's what I've got for you today, my friends. My quote that I'd like to leave you with: in as far as possible, try to be kind to each other. Even if it doesn't fit anymore, this person was once an important part of your life. We can't erase the past. And if you were together for any length of time, it's important to get to a place of healing so you can honor what was a major part of your life, probably for a very long time. We must always do what we believe to be right for ourselves. Just try to cause as little pain and upheaval for the other party as you can. So that's what I've got for you, my friends. Don't forget to find me on Facebook, Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert. Go to the website, jackiemott.com. You can download the 5 steps to create a mindset wired for success, and you will automatically get onto my mailing list, which means that when the information starts flying out about the summit, you will get the first kick at the can. You'll get the first bits of information, and they will be coming out within the next week for sure. So go and find us, like the page on Facebook, all of that kinds of stuff. We will be back next Friday and every other Friday at 12 noon Eastern. What does that mean? No, we're 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 12 noon Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 Pacific time. Next week, we are talking about the 4th stage of 5 stages of starting over. It's going to be talking about it's time. That's what it's called. It's time. It's time to move forward. What do you need to do? What do you need to do to release the past and move forward whole and ready for whatever it is that you want? Do you want another relationship? Do you want a different life? Do you want to travel? Do you want a new career? We're going to be talking about what is required in order for us to move forward in the new life that you are creating for yourself. So thank you so much for being with me here on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. I hope I'll see you back here next week. I so appreciate your time. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.